Warning, this video will contain spoilers for The Last of Us Part 2. You have been warned. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and we're finally here. This is my official first upload since I have finally played The Last of Us Part 2, and I'm currently on my second walkthrough of it, but I am going to be doing my first video covering the possibility of The Last of Us Part 3, or The Last of Us 3, whatever you want to call it, and why I think the ending of The Last of Us Part 2 pretty much confirms that we are getting another Last of Us game in the future. I don't know how many years it will be, but I am almost 100% certain after seeing the ending and collecting my thoughts after the first walkthrough and about to be playing it again here of why this game is going to get a sequel and The Last of Us is going to become a trilogy. Now, there's a couple possibilities as to what they could do with The Last of Us 3, and maybe we'll discuss that in another video, but this is why I believe it's going to happen. And we're also going to be discussing in the next couple days and weeks my review of the game. We're also going to be discussing the ending, what I thought of that, and some other little mini things that I want to get into. But let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, and please, if you want anything you want me to cover specifically with the game, I'm going to also probably be reviewing the leaks that I kind of avoided for months, and anything that you guys want me to cover, leave it down below in the comments. I want to do some things in the next couple weeks as we move on to other stuff on the channel, but I definitely want to give this game closure and my full thoughts. I want to display them all to you. So, we're going to start with Neil Druckman and what he said on the possibility of The Last of Us Part 3 before the game released, and what Naughty Dog is planning next after this game had released. So this is, I think, about a week before The Last of Us 2 release, and I was gonna cover this before the game came out, but I really never had time to. The Last of Us Part 3, what was Naughty Dog planning to do? Director hasn't decided what's next for Naughty Dog. With the imminent release of The Last of Us 2, Neil Druckman is undecided on another sequel or something new. And someone asked him about the possibility of the future. He said, as you start wrapping things up creatively, there are fewer and fewer responsibilities, and my mind can't help but think about the next thing, Druckman says. So yeah, the next thing could be Part 3, or the next thing could be a new IP. I actually ended up finding an article 3 days ago, it's a little spoiler cast thing, where Neil Druckman had discussed what it will take for him to make The Last of Us Part 3 and Naughty Dog go ahead with it. In all likeliness, it's going to be a PS5 release title, but this hints that their next game could be a new IP, and that the game after, if they do The Last of Us 3, will probably be The Last of Us 3. Now take a listen to this. He says, and I quote, "I'll be a little vague and cagey as you can expect, but I think the test for whether or not to make a Part 3 would have to be a similar test what will be with Part 2. With the first game, there were no expectation, and it was like, we could do anything. But now that we've established certain characters and themes and processes, it felt like to justify making a Part 2, we had to do something not that fans would just be comfortable with, but do something that would match the emotional core we found in the first game. And without that, there'd be no reason to do a Part 3. Finding it with the sequel was much harder than it was with the first game, and going forward it would be exponentially harder to justify going back to the world and finding a way to vary things up. There's already so many things you've seen about the backstory, about how the outbreak happens, so we really have to figure out how to create a new experience that matches the emotional impact of these stories, and I don't know what that is currently. That is very important. What Neil basically confirmed there by saying currently is they're not working on The Last of Us 3 right now. That's the confirmation of it. But 3 things probably come to my head here. I think there's going to be a Factions 2.0. That'll probably be first. Next will probably be the new IP. That's probably going to be, since they aren't working on The Last of Us 3 now, it makes sense that they'll probably do a new IP first. But then, after that, The Last of Us Part 3 probably is in perfect position to release. Now, based on that quote, though, it seems very hard that The Last of Us 3 is going to happen. It doesn't seem likely. And that starts to make you a little worried about. But let me explain why I think it's going to happen. If you watch this game from beginning to end, and you understand that the ending is the really important thing I want to focus on. I'm not going to go into in-depth because I want to cover it in another video. But whether they continue with Ellie, continue with Abby, or bring in some new character, I feel this game's story, if they want to focus on just Ellie, the Cure, Fireflies, they have to have something connected. And having either Ellie or Abby return is perfectly fine by me. I know a lot of you guys probably that are watching aren't big Abby fans, and that's okay. After finishing the first, walkthrough, I wasn't a big Abby fan, but playing a second time, I've started growing a little bit. Now, I'm not saying I like Abby, but I don't hate her as much as I did the first time playing through it. I've had more perspective on the story. But listen to this. After the ending, a lot of people were disappointed with the ending, and I think it was a clear setup to a sequel. That if Ellie had killed Abby, there's no question that The Last of Us 3 would have been completely focused on Ellie. Or they could have just ended off the series on this note, that Ellie goes back to Jackson after killing Abby and lives the rest of her life out. But now, with the Fireflies now being in a different location, Abby and that entire conversation, and now knowing where the Fireflies are, and now the ending screen showing that Abby and Lev both made it to the Catalina Casino, which is the location where the Fireflies are. And remember that radio call with Lev and Abby before they get captured by the Rattlers, confirming that they made it. So now you have a story set up. You have Ellie, after the end, broken, demoralized, losing everything, leaving Joel and the guitar behind, Dina and JJ both gone. She's by herself now. Abby officially has made it to the Catalina with Lev. You have them both in different states. Abby and Lev, they're probably on the, they're very happy. We made it. We're safe. Ellie just completely broken. And what is going on there? The final flashback between Joel and Ellie basically was Ellie explaining to Joel about her purpose that Joel took away. That Ellie wanted her life to have meaning and purpose, and that her sacrificing herself for the safety of humanity would have been something. Is that something she could be looking for in a potential sequel? That she wants to find somebody that could potentially get the cure out of her? And I had to explain all this because if you've listened to this, you have to understand that there is so many questions that they left open. This is not like the first game. The first game ended off on a cliffhanger. You could say they could have just left it be. This is a cliffhanger. This game kind of leaves off on a cliffhanger that there's too many open-ended questions for them to end it. Because if this is the end, I mean, Angry Joe even said, a lot of people probably agree with, and I feel the same way, that they can't end it off on this. This is not an ending that I would say I would be 100% happy with. It's just depressing, too wide open, and sad. And what does this mean? Both Ellie and Abby's stories are left very open. Ellie's lost everything. She leaves everything behind. Abby finds the fireflies with Lev. Now, The Last of Us 3 has to incorporate both of them, I think, for it to be a great success. But basically what I'm saying here, everyone, in the next 5 years, I would expect a Last of Us Part 3. With how this game ended and everything they've done, and I think even the potentiality of a prequel is something that I think are going to discuss in the future. But let me know down below in the comments, based on everything I've said and talked about here, do you think The Last of Us Part 3 is going to happen, or do you think they should end off on this? Again, I'm not the biggest fan of the ending because of all the question marks that are left open. So if they did end off on this, I would be very, very disappointed. But it's up to them at the end of the day. And based on what Neil says, it's not likely, but there's always that possibility. Let me know your possibilities of what you'd like to see for The Last of Us Part 3 down below in the comments. And be sure to drop a like and subscribe. I will be talking about probably the ending or my review very soon. So let me know down below in the comments what you guys think. And we'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.
Thank you.